4. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show here on AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. It is a blessing to be with you today. Let's talk about immigration. Let's talk about the ICE raids that are occurring all over the country. I think Chicago might have taken that victory lap just a little too soon because as we were celebrating last week, we said we pushed back on the FBI, the federalized police, the National Guard. Yeah, we did. But this is what was really happening, everybody. They had ICE waiting in the wings. And September 8th, they deployed them with a vengeance all over the Chicagoland area. And they're doing it all over the country. And the Homeland Security Secretary, Noam, on one of these raids, was on one of the raids reportedly. She's denied the reports, but the reports did go forth that at least 2 persons who are American citizens were swept up in the raids. One of the things that we do not know, and I say this to my Minneapolis and Chicago families, and really everybody who listens all over the country and indeed all over the world, it's not just indigenous people who speak Spanish who are being swept up. Although if it were only them, it would be enough for us to be concerned and to be up in arms. If you lived as long as I have lived, you know that what happens to one happens to all. Just keep on living, as my parents used to say. Now I'm old enough for that to be a truism. Keep on living, keep on living, keep on living, keep on living. It's all of us who are getting swept up. Because quite frankly, if you walk through any place in America, I hope you have a passport, but I don't know if that's really going to matter. I hope you have some identifying papers, but I don't know if that's really going to matter because people are being swept up at this time. Hey, Andre, how you doing, sweetie? So let's think about that. What is going on here? Now nurses all around the country are saying we are bothered by the fact that ICE are in the hospitals. How can we really treat our people? People are now going to be sick and not coming to the emergency rooms. I mean, the social chaos that is resulting from this massive sweep is something we really need to talk about. But what if it happens to you? And it could happen to anyone. It is happening to everyone. Everyone is vulnerable, everybody. Because when you're walking down the street, quite frankly, people don't know where you're from. This is the United States of America. West Side Justice Center Director, Attorney Tanya Woods, Reverend Dr. Jeanette Wilson, Rainbow Push, and Attorney Anastasia Sinat, Haitian American Lawyers Association, also a great law professor. I had a very interesting experience. I was away in Denmark for like 2 or 3 months when I was 14. I turned 15 over there. And I came back into Kennedy Airport. And I was actually on my way to Cuba. What a summer that was. And what was interesting to me, I came out of a really homogenous environment because when you go into the Nordic countries, they really are very, very white, which is fine. I had a wonderful experience there and I was received warmly while I was there. But it was interesting getting into Kennedy and seeing all of the people in all of these different modes of clothing, indigenous clothing, hearing all of these languages. And what was so wonderful, my beautiful soul, or Anastasia Sinat, who never comes on camera, but you're wearing that red. I love it, girl. Ooh. What was so wonderful was that I said, even then, I remember calling my father when I got to the hotel. I said, Daddy, I had an amazing experience. I was in Kennedy and I heard all of these languages and saw all of these people. And I knew I was in the United States because everybody was here. We have our problems, everybody. Yeah, we do. But part of the blessing, and I don't know if we fully realize it, is that everybody in the world is here. You just assume that everybody here belongs here. Certainly everybody here wants to be here. What a blessing that is. Think of how our culture has impacted the world. Everyone wants to be a Michael Jackson or an Aretha or Mahalia or Barbara Streisand. Honey, they were created here. You want to preach like Dr. King or like Reverend. We've come up with something in the United States. We really have. Some wonderful things. But we're at a point of challenge right now. And let's look at that. Let's look at these ICE raids. Let's look at what Operation Midway Blitz really means. And we're going to take it from a different perspective today. And I think my AM 950 radio family, I think this ought to resonate with you a little bit differently because you have so many African immigrants, particularly people from Somalia who are there. And they're running for office and they're winning. Think about Congresswoman Omar. Think about your mayoral, your Democratic nominee, State Senator Fateh. Think about him. These are people who are coming into the country who are making meaningful contributions, like everybody here, if we would allow them to do that. But I want to start off with you, and I'm sending much love um, to my Bobby Edwards from Howard University. My sweetie, love you, Bobby. Love you, Andre. Love you, Dave. Love everybody. Love everybody here. Like and share, like and share. Help us with the algorithm, please. Meet me on Blue Sky, santitajackson.bsky.social, at Santita J on X, Santita Jackson and Friends on Facebook, and the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel, and Santita Jackson IG on Instagram. Yeah, I am there. Let me start with you, Attorney Woods, because you have a really interesting approach to this issue that we're dealing with ICE and with the raids. Because I think that some people, Black people included, have said, well, that doesn't include me. And you said, oh, no. You've got a lot of Black immigrants in the
Absolutely.
United States.
Absolutely.
So talk to me
Thank you,
about
Santita. Will, and I'll start by saying that the Westside Justice Center, which is a holistic legal aid clinic in the heart of the Chicago's West Side in East Garfield Park, we see a lot of people. Uh, and we are able to provide free legal service to educate people across Chicago, across Cook County, and across the state of Illinois. And so by doing so, I'm talking about not what I heard, but what I know. What I tell you is that 20% of the immigrants that are here in Chicago are what we refer to as Black immigrants. These are people who look like me, who look like us. They are from the West Indies. They are from parts of South America. They are from West Africa. When they get stopped for a busted tail light, the law enforcement officer who is stopping them is not trying to make the distinction as to whether or not they are African American, US citizen or not. They're just going to get stopped. And so the unique cross section of a person who is walking around in a container who looks like me, but also maybe undocumented or is not a US citizen may find themselves situation.
we're going to get you in a stabilized area because I think
Previous interactions
okay,
with law enforcement. As I
okay,
that
okay. I need you to repeat what you just said because
this
we lost
can
you
you
for a
still
hot
hear
second.
me?
Now we can.
No problem. 20% of immigrants in Chicago are what we refer to as Black immigrants, meaning these are
Mm.
people who look like us. They are from countries in the West Indies, Caribbean, Central America, South America, West Africa. When they get stopped by the police, the law enforcement who's stopping them is not going to care about whether they are US citizen or not, if they're
Mm.
undocumented or not. And they may or may not know where to go for help when they need legal assistance and legal support. And
Wait,
so
let
our
me let me
Black
let me stop
immigrants,
you right there. Hold on.
mhm,
Let me stop you right there because you said
yes,
something I, that I think bears watching, as my mother would say.
yes,
You say
yes,
they stop people who look like us. They don't care if you're an immigrant or not. You're
that's
getting
right.
stopped, and you could get
That's
taken
right.
in, right?
Right. Now, your detention is going to look a lot different if you are undocumented than someone who's not. Your detention is going to look a lot different if you're a reentering citizen or not, meaning with a previous background. Then, if you have a previous criminal background and you might be undocumented. So, we are finding that there are some immigrants that are particularly vulnerable because we do not have the same amount of resources when it comes to attorneys. Do not have the same amount of resources when people navigate our court system that are familiar enough with the unique nuances of people who are coming from those countries and need our legal support. And so those are individuals that do have these are all very special populations that for us at the Westside Justice Center and others that are partnering with us to address the unique needs of the Black community are top of mind.
Hmm. Reverend Dr. Wilson, what are you hearing? I mean, you're at Rainbow Push, and you occupy a lot of spaces working at Push, you know, as a lawyer, as a minister, as a pastor, as someone who is a renowned, you know, civil rights activist. What are you hearing from people? Is there an unsettledness in the community? Are people beginning to be fearful?
Well, I think people are afraid, and many people are hiding, and so we don't see them unless something happens. Uh, there's, as she said, there are several types of immigrants who are in our space, and some of them are Haitian immigrants, some are African immigrants, some are from the Caribbean, some are from South America. And when you look at, and some are from Africa, we all look the same. We have different accents, different languages that we are able to speak. But when you're stopped by the police, they don't know any difference. They just see a Black person, a person of color. And oftentimes they don't even wait for you to identify. You are stopped, detained, and depending on the circumstances, you can be arrested or detained and not officially arrested. They will simply put you in a car and take you somewhere. And the issue that I have heard, many of the people of color who are of African heritage are Black and brown like I am and you are, and Anastasia and Tanya, we're not fighting for us. And so we keep thinking that, oh, I'm going to be all right because I've been here all of my life. I was born here. And you have African, Haitian, and even some Caribbean immigrants whose family members immigrated here. They were born here, so they feel safe, or they simply do not come public. When we tried to do the census, the difficulty was getting our people to be counted, other than those who are American-born African Americans. We lost numbers because our people refused the count, the census count. Similarly, with this immigration, we are not as organized as the Latino community is in terms of rapid response. We're not as organized as those who are from Palestine because they have joined with ICCIR, Immigrant Rights Organization, and they have a hotline, they have deployed lawyers that they can call on the ready. We have to build up. That's why I'm so excited about Westside Justice and HALA, which Anastasia works with. We've got to become more visible to our ordinary people so they know if I'm Haitian, HALA is there for me. This is the number. And we've got to have one number, one hotline that people can call. Push is available every day to receive and then transfer calls and requests for assistance. I've been working with a number of groups that are now forming various tables to respond, because this action by the feds is really very similar, and I keep saying this, to when we were post-slavery, post-Reconstruction, where we had the Ku Klux Klan, which still exists. But in this climate, then they were wearing hooded sheets. Today, ICE is coming masked and hooded. And so you don't know who you're dealing with. You cannot identify them. They don't show a badge. They don't have a name badge. They don't have anything that identifies them as to what agency of government they're representing. And the president has the power to deploy a number of officers who are not police. They are simply either immigration agents, ICE agents. They may be coming from DEA. They may be coming from firearms, but you don't know who they are because they are hooded en masse. It's a very dangerous moment. It reminds me of South Africa.
Hmm.
When you remember back before the end of apartheid,
Mhm.
you had to show a pass to go.
A pass book.
A pass book, like stamping your pass to go from work to home and back to home. We're moving in that climate, and our young people walk around every day with no identification.
Mhm.
Americans and non-Americans, and I know all of us know that Anastasia is shaking her head and ready to speak, because we have had a level of freedom that we believe that we're going to be good. I was born here, I speak English. Well, that does not provide you with security and safety. And then people that already have a prior criminal background, you're the first to go, because they have your fingerprint, they have everything about you. And if they want to pick up some people that look like you, you're the first to be picked up.
And Jeanette, Reverend Wilson, we don't know where we're going now.
No, we don't.
Because they've opened up since they've cut these deals with these African countries and South American countries, not European countries, Attorney Sanat,
But
African countries.
yes.
And the indigenous countries in this hemisphere. It's like, are you serious? What is going on here? And I just think that we have got to really double down and understand that we're all under threat. Dave Dowling has been saying some very interesting things. He says this is really the actualization of the secret police.
Yes.
So what do you say to that?
Well, it's just like Nazi Germany. Hitler created a whole separate police force that followed his dictates, followed his orders and his mission. And this is what we're creating. When you tell police officers, resign from the police force and join ICE, you get more money, and you don't have to have the same reporting circumstances. You don't have the same training protocols. You don't have the same uniforms. You're walking around with a hood and a mask. You're hooded, masked, and wearing black. Everybody that's in black, we don't know who they are. You don't know where they came from. There's no protocol for them. There's no screening of them. And we don't know who they are and how they just decide, I'm going to leave this police force. It could be some of the officers that have been convicted of heinous crimes that left the police force, got fired. They can go straight to ICE, because that's the kind of character that they're looking for.
You're right. We don't know who they are.
You don't know who they are. And you cannot litigate on the street. All of us know if you start fighting with them, you get shot, you can get murdered on the street because you are obstructing, quote unquote, justice. And so you have to be very careful.
You're right, Reverend Jeanette Wilson. I am trying to jump in, but I want to make sure that people are clear. What Trump is doing in targeting criminal immigrants is not new. We can go all the way back to George Bush. Obama had the same thing. They're just called different operations.
Right.
But quite frankly, the United States government is not going to be using resources to find any and all things that are not easily found. And the easiest way to find anyone, quite frankly, is if you have a criminal background. So anyone in the United States who has been living illegally already knows the only way they're really going to find you is if you put yourself in the system. And there are 3 different ways they put themselves in the system. 1 is through the criminal background. 2 is applying for some kind of benefit or authorization, right? And 3 is, as Tanya had mentioned earlier, Attorney Woods had mentioned earlier, you've already been here. So we already had your information. So you just came back. So when we're thinking about what's really going on, I agree with Attorney Woods and yourself when it comes to, it is harder to identify the Black person. The Black person does look like the regular African American. So they will get stopped, they will get frisked. And then that also brings me to, as all 3 of us, except for Santita, are lawyers. We know about Terry v. Ohio. Yes. And we know that the recent Supreme Court decision of Nome versus, I think it's called Padormo, that is where the United States Supreme Court on September 8th indicated that the articulable facts needed for reasonable suspicion in order for ICE agents to then approach and stop someone is a much lower standard than a case that's been on the books since 1968. Which of course the Black community, had it not been for us, that case would not exist. But let's go back. What is it saying? In that particular immigration related Supreme Court decision, they're saying if you are here and racially or ethnically we think you might be one of them, that will be an articular fact that we can use.
If we
If you speak English or you speak English with an accent like my mom and dad, that might be another articulable fact that we can use. If you work in a particular type of industry, that might be a particular articulable fact that we can use. And then they also have locations, because really in California, I don't think it happens so much here in Illinois, but in California, they have what they call the day laborers. And the day laborers hang out at different places like in Home Depot and all those
Oh
other
no, they're
places.
here. They're here.
They're here,
all
okay.
over Home Depot. And
Oh, they do? Okay.
And that's why they added it to the list.
That's why they added it, because they want to make sure that that Supreme Court, which again, the three of us need to emphasize, why is it important for people to go out and vote for your local judges? Because those local judges become state judges. Those state judges then become federal judges. And those federal judges end up making these types of decisions. That's how we ended up with the Supreme Court decision, which is quite frankly against Terry v. Ohio. It's certainly turning around why a person can be stopped and searched. It's going right up against the Fourth Amendment, saying that it's not unreasonable when it seems so unreasonable. Because how is it that you're going to stop my mom and dad when I know they're citizens,
Right.
they know they're citizens,
Right.
but because they look Haitian, they speak the language, and they also have accents when they speak the language, now they're going to be questioned about their actual citizenship?
Well,
And
you
they
know,
could be
they-
one of those people
but
that
you know
got
what I'm
round up.
saying? They don't look Haitian. They look black. And
Right,
that's
Oh,
I was
well.
about to say,
no. What I'm
Haiti's a
saying
black republic, so I just say they look Haitian to me.
no. What I'm
But
saying
yes,
is, in the United States, you will always hear at some point in your life as an African American, you need to go back to Africa. You're
Yeah.
gonna hear,
oh,
okay, and so that's why I'm trying to help you to cross the Rubicon, because as Fiddler in Roots said, you in America now.
mhm,
The tribal thing doesn't work here. We're all in one big pot. And what's interesting is that I want you to speak to you, Attorney Woods. I want you, and everybody else can jump in, but I want you to deal with this first, since you're looking at this migrant crisis from this perspective. Solomon Harris, and Solomon is always trying to make his point, but he does, and I appreciate it because it's out there. I don't agree with it. He said Black people, I'm assuming Black Americans, need to stand aside and let them move these migrants out of here. What say you, Tanya Woods?
there is no
Attorney
these
Woods.
migrants. That's fine. It's fine to call us that. That's not a problem. There is no such thing as these migrants. This is all of us in this together. There is no such thing. This arbitrary dividing line that's based on citizenship is arbitrary. There is no reason why we should buy into the false narrative of us and them. There's no reason why we should be having a pissing match as to whose tragedy is worse. We are all on multiple roads to detention, to the breaking up of families, to the incarceration of our youth. It's just multiple roads. And so I say to people like that, that is a very short-sighted way of looking at the current affairs, is to start pitting one group against another, especially on the way that we got here. Many of us didn't ask to come here. We got here by kidnapped Africans, and we are the descendants. But we've come here from many different places. But to start to, as you say, Santita, dividing ourselves along tribal lines or around documentation, whether or not we're citizens or not citizens, or where in the pipeline we are, that is a false narrative, and one that we should not be playing into. If anything, our strength actually lies when we come together. The Westside Justice Center is part and parcel of a statewide network called Illinois Access to Justice of 88 organizations that provide free legal services and community navigation services. Out of those 88 organizations, there are only 2 There are only 2 in the state of Illinois out of those 88 that cater to the needs of people who look like us. So whether they're from the West Indies, Caribbean, African, or not. One is the United African Organization in Chicago, and the other one is Aquaba, which is in downstate Illinois. The Westside Justice Center has just launched its brand new immigration clinic in order to address that, so that whether or not you are, what we try to address is the need of people who don't know where to go. So whether or not you are from Haiti, or if you are from Belize, or you are from Senegal, you also need a place to go where you can speak with people who are trusted, who are trained, who look like you and have similar experiences to you. So I say to folks like that, that is a very short-sighted way to think of the crisis that we are facing right now. And divided, we certainly will fall, but united, we are much stronger together.
Well, I got something else for you. You all gonna really enjoy this. Come on, Reverend Wilson and Attorney Santita. You all gonna love this one. Thank you, Solomon. Solomon again said, why do our most talented lawyers, you 3 ladies, do everything you can to save folks that don't care for them?
Well, first of all, that's a true statement that runs across all cultures and all classes of people. We are called, when we take that oath of office, we're called to serve. And I have represented a number of African Americans that don't care anything for me or the rest of the community, but I've represented them because they needed effective representation. So I don't choose whether they're going to like me or not. I choose to serve because that's my calling. And I think all of us take that oath very seriously. We're not fighting more for migrants. When I look at the word migrant, I hate the use of that word because it's like they're ants or something. These are people who have come from different countries and find themselves here. They're fighting to make a living. They're fighting to raise families. They're not coming here to take jobs that we want, that we're trying to hold on to. Most of the migrants do the work that we don't want to do anymore. If you go to restaurants and hotels, we moved away from the service industry. If we're honest, African Americans, I'm talking about. You eat in most of the high-end restaurants, they didn't put us out. We put ourselves out, said, we don't have to do this anymore. We don't want to do the factory work. We moved up to certain things, even some of the skilled labor, the skilled trades. We're not moving into the trade. We're fighting now to get young people. Everybody doesn't have to go to college, but I want somebody that can fix my furnace, who can do plumbing. It's something that we're not getting into. And so
we're not doing it. Reverend Wilson, we're not doing that anymore. My mother said, you used to be able to find someone who could fix your vacuum cleaner. All you have to do was go to a street in the Black community.
I just and they knew how to fix the washer, the dryer. I mean,
and you know, but let me just say this, Solomon thing, because I think you all need to speak to this.
Yeah,
because this is part of the problem. He said a lot of the elite Black attorneys and politicians fight more for migrants, the rainbow people, and APAC, and not for us. But let me say this to you.
It's not true.
Because when you
It's
say
not
rainbow,
true.
well, let me just say this, because rainbow, Reverend Jackson knew that, and Dr. King knew, with the Poor People's Campaign, not the Poor Black People's Campaign, the Poor People's Campaign, that we were stronger together because it's more of us than it is of the 1%.
Well, how about
You,
Johnson only give out all of that fair housing and all of the things that we received from him was because they held up a baby, a white baby, and there were
white
poor
in Appalachia
than Black people. And so that's how poverty, all these poverty initiatives that we now have that are now in jeopardy, came as a result of showcasing most of the people in the rural South that are poor are white, not Black.
I think Brother Solomon is just not speaking from a place of present knowledge. I think he's speaking from a place of not present knowledge. I'm not trying to call him ignorant, but at the end of the day, there are coalitions of Black people that do work together. That's why Reverend Jeanette Wilson and I know each other. That's why Tanya Woods and I know each other. In fact, Tanya used to intern at ICE when I was working there as an ICE prosecutor. So she's seen the inside of how immigration and customs enforcement gets down. I've seen the inside of it. So we do work together as a collective. There is a Black coalition. There is a brown coalition. It's kind of unfortunate that so many in the community are unaware of the work that people like us have done and are continuing to do. Now, Hala, we had an immigration clinic last summer, and we were, it was,
Hala is.
oh, I'm sorry, the Haitian American Lawyers Association of Illinois. And I was president at the time. I'm now the immediate past president. But last year we had an immigration clinic and we teamed up with the National Immigrant Justice Center Metropolitan Family Services. And we had a free clinic as well. And let me tell you, we didn't even see Haitians. They wanted us to join because they thought there would be more Haitians. What we saw was more people from South American countries like Venezuela. And our people still helped. So when it comes to getting out the word, that's the problem. A lot of people speak from places that they don't know the actual truth. And I don't want to say they're all ignorant, but quite frankly, that's what it is. You're speaking from a place of ignorance when you say things like that. You have to do some research. You have to learn about these things, and you have to help us spread the message. We did want to help more Haitians here in Chicago. We didn't want people thinking that Haitians actually ate cats and dogs. That's crazy. We didn't want any of those things to happen. But in essence, we still had to help the people. And the people that we ended up helping didn't really look like us. There weren't that many Africans coming into our clinic. There weren't that many Caribbeans or Haitians coming into the clinic.
And let me
So we
add
helped where we could.
Anastasia, not to talk over you, these are systemic issues that are also at play.
Yeah.
It is by design that we are disconnected, right? It is by design that our communities are fragmented. It is by design that redlining in major urban areas still exists. It is by design that Chicago is as fragmented as it is ethnically and racially. Those are all things that have been designed systematically by the oppressor. So we have an opportunity to educate ourselves and educate others as to how we got here in the first place. And then, as you so aptly put, Anastasia, to then educate our communities as to where we're going. We are now in Chicago responding a Black response to what we are seeing with ICE agents in Chicago. The initial threat, lest us not forget, our president said he was coming to Chicago with the National Guard to stem crime and violence. Instead, he has come with ICE agents and is snatching people out of their cars. So this is a dragnet, not just for one, but for all. And so if we're paying attention and recognizing that when we speak up with a Black response, we are catching up all of the Black immigrants with us instead of fragmenting ourselves. So 4 weeks ago, that Labor Day weekend, now we are 3 weeks ahead, and we have over 45 organizations and growing in Chicago who have come together, Black-led and Black-serving organizations, attorneys, mutual aid, activists, advocates of all kinds, providing and support around legal information, know your rights workshops where you can call 773-940-2213 if you want an attorney or a group of attorneys to give a know your rights workshop in your community, in your civic group, in your church. We are assembling as we speak 10 hubs across the city of Chicago that are mutual aid hubs. So in the event that our streets are interrupted, our schools, we can't get our kids to school, or we can't seek medical help, that we can do that ourselves. And so there is so much great work, but we need folks like Santita and her show, and others, Reverend Wilson on her show, to amplify this message, not only in Chicago, but to connect us with other cities across the nation so that we can let people know there is a Black response to what.
Yeah, and the divisiveness that people say, I'm American, you're not American, I'm Black, you're not Black, but we all look alike. But you only need help for my American Blackness, not for the Haitian Blackness. That divisiveness is how they win. When you are not really understanding that there are Haitians that have big businesses. In fact, let's look at the CEO of Red Lobster. His heritage is Nigerian. Okay. Now, all of the African Americans that are looking for jobs and looking for places to work, he is now the head of the chain.
But see,
there's also other African Americans that had other places that hire and the reverse in terms of immigrants that are Black. So we can't use divisive language like, well, I don't want to help the Haitians. I only want to help the American Blacks. You can't do that because we all should be helping each other as
right,
one big coalition.
But let me tell you, the problem has always been with how we're brought in here and how we're acculturated.
Sure, education sucks sometimes, yeah.
Well, no, because even Newt Gingrich said, he was speaking to a group of Black immigrants, and he said, you're different than Black Americans. You hear it all the time. You're more accomplished, you get more degrees, you're more skilled, blah, 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 blah. Now, the only reason you're able to be here is because of the battles that we fought here. And I think that once we really, really understand how America works, how we've made America work, because we're still the most disrespected people here. I mean, what many of us don't even remember or realize is that after slavery, first of all, Lincoln did not even want to keep us here. He said, if I can keep slavery and hold the Union together, I will do it, but I can't. They had the American Colonization Society. They were trying to send us out of here. They had to amend the Constitution for us, for Black men, actually, to be granted citizenship. So we have to understand exactly what we're dealing with here. You all act as if we were just pulled into the American dream. Look, indigenous people just got their citizenship. Wait a minute. Was it the 20s or the 30s?
Yes.
Or the 40s.
In the United States.
But that's something that I think is important for people to understand in terms of distinction. American Blacks have made all of those fights and those strides, right? So they've had to deal with situations that a lot of these Black immigrants have never had to deal with. I read an article once in which a Nigerian had come to the United States thinking, well, things have gone on far enough that he can be successful here, but he could not take the, what do they call it, passive aggressions, or all of those things. He didn't have the capacity to handle those microaggressions.
Not the
right, microaggressions. I couldn't think of the word at the time, but it's true. When you are born and raised in the United States, you're taught differently because you have things that you have tools to use to fight past that. But when you're coming from different countries, you don't always have those tools. You don't always have that internal strength.
Understanding the Black rules and the Black tax helps you.
Yes, of course.
Because we know the system and we know we know this thing because this is what we do.
But remember what happened to Diallo? Remember?
I was living there.
You were right. That's what I'm saying, Sora. Yeah. So I'm thinking to myself, there are so many people that have come to the United States who have gotten misinformation about this country and misinformation about what it means to be Black in America. They come ill prepared to handle.
I talked to his mother like 2 months after he had been killed. I was at an event in New York. I sang at this event, and she wanted to speak with me. And of course, I'm Reverend's daughter. She wanted, want you to come and be at one of my events. Of course. I said, of course. And you could see it was so fresh to her. I don't know. She'll never get over it. Well, and she said, I just did not know. She took my hands and she was trembling. She said, I didn't know.
They did not know
what it was like here. I didn't know. And I said, oh, my sister, I wish someone had told you. What we've been going through for 400 years. Because
a lot of them come in clueless.
Well, not a lot. Almost everybody comes in clueless until something catastrophic.
Until something critical happens that forces you to face it.
Part of the challenge is we're ignorant of our history.
Oh, no,
sure.
All the way around.
Well, a Haitian gave us our freedom. America, its freedom. Haiti, Toussaint Louverture. So you got to start there. We owe Haiti and Haitians a debt for what they did for this country that we call ours. That's number one. Number two, I think that there's some confusion about whose country this started out as. Because the Native
Wait a minute. Rewind that tape. What now?
Whose country was this? It wasn't discovered because it wasn't lost. Columbus never reached America. He reached the Americas, but not the United States. So when you know your history, all of us.
I'm about to push mute because you were talking about that brilliant discoverer who was lost.
Oh,
I don't know. It's just me. I'm like,
man was just lost. Couldn't find his own way.
Child, he thought he was in India. That's why he called them Indians. I'm like, who does that?
And went the whole wrong way.
And we still talking about him over 500 years later.
And they want to exalt him as a genius. I said, but he was lost. And he didn't even know where he was. Okay, he never even got here. But
so Reverend Wilson, you're touching on
I'll
something
leave that alone.
I think that is huge, and that's the miseducation, which one of your viewers is putting in the chat.
Miseducation.
And it is that continual miseducation that is our responsibility as Black folks to correct.
And let me just say this, because Solomon, I want you to continue, but I just want to clarify this because we have a lot of different opinions here, and I encourage that. Solomon, no one called you ignorant. You don't have all of the facts, I don't believe. And I'm glad that you come back here. You're a faithful listener, viewer. I appreciate it. What we're trying to do is give you something else to think about.
Yes.
It might change your mind, it might not. But I want whatever opinion that you have, I want it to be informed. I'd love for you to read Forced into Glory by
Yes. Lerone Bennett.
Lerone Bennett. There's some things that you need to know, the souls of Black folk.
Yes.
You need to read the Atlanta Study by W.E.B. Du Bois. Because he studied Black people coming out of slavery. He really because he wanted to understand us. You really need to understand John Hope Franklin.
Yeah.
You need there's some things that I want you to have, so that when you make these comments, see, because no hate, no Haitian America, you would not have Chicago. That was DeSable.
Yeah.
We've all and the only reason Black folks over here,
And without Haiti, there wouldn't have been an opportunity for independence for slavery around the world.
well,
They were the
not to
catalyst.
mention, honey, not to mention the fact that, let's just keep it 100. All of us Black folks are over here from Africa.
Sure.
Okay, you
Right.
survived. Haiti is an indigenous country. They were genocided out.
Yeah.
Now let's get real. Okay. Now all of us over here in indigenous lands. That's why I talk about the indigenous people who speak Spanish, because these and the lighter ones have been mixed with European blood. Okay, so let's just stop it. But the fact is, Reverend said we came over here in different ships, but we're in the same boat now.
Absolutely.
Okay, it was a corporate plan to bring all these migrants here in the first place. And even President Trump said, well, what we want to do is make them seasonal workers because they want them to work for cheap.
Right.
That ought to offend you.
Without giving them a pathway to citizenship. That's just offensive.
So let me just recenter.
But the one thing that should be clear at this point by everybody and what we're saying is we must work together.
Yeah.
You know, not every case is worth something that we can actually fight. And so we're not going to take your money. That's one way that we help as attorneys. You might think you have a case and we've told you you don't have a case. We're telling you we're not going to take your money. And therefore we're helping you. You may not have the case.
But
Yeah.
okay.
The thing is, as we look at representation, African American lawyers have continuously represented those not based on the ability to pay, but those who have a need for lawyers. You have the Legal Defense, NAACP Legal Defense Fund, the Cook County Bar Association here in Chicago, the West Side Justice Center, and then we have formed clinics in many of the law schools that represent the innocent. When I was in law school, I worked on the Pontiac 11 case. There were people that were charged with killing prison guards, and some of the brightest Black lawyers took their cases, including Larry Hoover's case. So it's not that we don't represent. It's Black lawyers who, the one that died, Santita, out of California, that
Johnny Cochran?
Johnny Cochran, before he had the famous football player, he had represented another guy.
Famous civil rights. Most people don't realize his extensive civil rights career.
Just so many of our lawyers have. I mean, Thurgood Marshall never got the money for the cases that he represents. So don't ever say we don't represent our people. We do. We have
and I'll also say, I want to speak to a little bit to that, because there was another viewer who also talked about the pipeline of Black attorneys. And so these are all, I think, touching on the systemic issues that I don't want to take us too far from Santita, where you are trying to center this conversation. But in my opinion, it's all part and parcel. Oftentimes we are not permitted, because we don't have the same amount of resources to pursue these types of careers. So I'm going to use mine as an example. I lead a legal aid clinic, which is now rivals some of the largest legal aid clinics in the state of Illinois. We started as a seedling organization just less than 10 years ago, and now have the opportunity to help so many. But I was afforded that opportunity because I don't have small children that I have to take care of right now. I'm a widowed wife, so I'm by myself. I care for my mom, who, for all intents and purposes, has her own independent income. I say all this to say is a lot of young people, as they are coming through, are not necessarily afforded all the opportunities to pursue an active career in the law because they are trying to pursue other careers that take care of kith and kin back home. And so I know I grew up with the saying that's like, you got to go to college so you can help give back to your community.
Right.
So talk about pipelines also, we are a small percentage of the total number of attorneys that exist in this country, but most of us are still giving back to our communities and trying to improve those pipelines so more young people who look like us can join our ranks on bench and bar. And so we are offering opportunities where we can do so, but we still have a long way to go. Another systemic issue that plagues us in our field oftentimes is we are not investing in our own not-for-profits, in our own organizations. We are still dependent on others to support our own organizations.
Say that one more time.
We are still dependent on others to support our own organizations. So I encourage you, if you are a person of faith and you are tithing, great. I please ask you and beg of you to find another Black not-for-profit that you can invest in. We need you in order to stay alive to do this work on scale, not just small organizations, mom and pop on one corner, and then we dry up another 10 years later. But we want to be able to have the kind of sustainability and longevity so that we can depend on each other. But we need us to invest in us.
Because that's what other communities do. And I want Solomon to understand, no one is calling you ignorant. No one thinks that you are poorly read. Nobody thinks that. Stop that. And that is something I would say that many of us do. When we engage in loving critique, we're so wounded that I can't say to you, hey, have you read this book? Most of us haven't read Du Bois. We haven't. Most of us have not read Lerone Bennett's book. You can't even find it now. It was so controversial when it was released just before he died. It was his last great work that now they've wiped it out. Attorney Woods, Attorney Sinatra.
And if you don't want to read Du Bois, read Chairman Fred, read Malcolm. I mean, there's so much that we have that is accessible, but we don't know our own history. We don't know our own political education, but I believe there's hope for that. I believe that there are shows like this, that there are ways that we can center on a large scale. We can use our own media outlets like the Santita Jackson Show and Friends, like the Reverend Jesse Jackson Show with Reverend Wilson, like the Tribe Magazine, which was started by two young women at Northwestern University, like Daryl Denard's show. But we can take this message mainstream, educate our own so that we can stop making the same mistakes of the past, but also so that we have the force and power to beat back these oppressive regimes and systems that still work to undergird and undermine our efforts.
Well,
I think Santita, when you had mentioned about the slave ships being forced into other places of America, I think a lot of people think Hispanic is actually something that does not apply to Black people, but it does. When you're saying migrants and you're saying Hispanics, there are Afro-Latinos. Yeah. Brazil, even though that was colonialized by Portuguese, there are 55 million Black Brazilians.
That's right.
And if we look throughout all of South America, it's black, all over the place. So when people are saying Hispanics, they're really thinking to themselves,
it's a culture,
different color, a different context. But there's really a lot of us that are in that group as well. Venezuelans, Guatemalans, Ecuadorians. There are a lot of Black people that fit in those areas. There are Black Mexicans.
So
what is it? Her name is Lupita Nyong'o. She was born in Mexico.
Cirilo McSween, the first African-American to sell $1 million worth of insurance in the United States, was from Panama.
Right. People got to stop thinking that Black people did not just go into Mexico and South America or Central America. We went all over the world.
But we don't know our history. But also, there has to be an appreciation. I'm going to stand on this.
Okay.
For what Black people did in the United States. Too many of us do not know the struggle in which we've engaged. Too many of us do not know all that we've done and all that we continue to do and how we all help each other. And so what we're saying is, hey, all I'm trying to do, this is not the fact-free zone. It's just a spin-free zone up in here. Try to give you some information that'll help you along the way. They've already given you, the three of you, an assignment. Solomon wants you to come back and talk about mortgage fraud and Lisa Cook and Letitia James. They
Mm.
want you to talk about those cases because those cases are about to get really huge. They're already huge.
They
So
already
let
do,
me
yes.
know. Let me know when over the next few days, you all can do this. Come back and talk about this because these are big cases, and there's something to be said before I give each of you, a minute and a little bit of change to close everything out. To have people not just who look like us, but who come from our experience and who use those experiences to make our lives better. I mean, to know that Johnny Cochran became a prosecutor so he could understand the system and come out and defend us. Come on, y'all. I mean, Charlie Hayes, who was our congressman, he really understood unions, so he understood labor and he fought to get us in. So, really, come on, everybody. Let's just, no one's calling anyone ignorant here because that is not what we're saying. When we say, hey, check this out, listen to this, that's all we're saying, Solomon.
And may I also say it is imperative for those of us who do know not to vilify those who do not know. It is our collective responsibility to make sure that we do teach our education to those who do not know. And for those who may not have been exposed to the political education that we have, it's our responsibility to make sure that we all teach that. As one of the things that we put first and foremost in this moment right now is teaching people about their constitutional rights. So if they find themselves engaging with law enforcement, they know what their rights are, what their risks are, and what their resources are.
Right.
There was a time when folks didn't know that you were supposed to say, if you are engaged with a law enforcement officer, am I free to go? Now we are teaching that information far and wide in Know Your Rights workshops and communities to be able to ask that question in such a way that you can stand firm on invoking your civil rights. We are now teaching people to be able to say, if they're not free to go, then I will not talk without my lawyer. So that if you find yourself detained, you can have an advocate that is able to stand up for you in a court of law, knowing that you not only knew your rights, but you were able to invoke them with confidence. We are now able to teach people far and wide that they have the right to say, I do not consent to any searches. So even if that police officer or law enforcement officer decides they want to pat you down, search your car, open your trunk, bust down your door, you do have the right to say these things, say them firmly with confidence, and know that there's an advocate on the other side that's going to be able to defend you robustly in a court of law, even if your rights have been trampled upon. So we are now not where we used to be. We are certainly further along, and we have a long way to go. And so I always say, if I stop 5 people on the street and ask them if they knew these 2 very vital constitutional rights, I'm not satisfied until all 5 of them know what they are. I am constantly centering Black people and Black families in the work that I do. And it is almost sometimes offensive when folks like myself and Reverend Wilson and Attorney Sanat are told that we are not somehow or another centering our own people because we dare to care about others. That is what makes us dutiful law officers of the court. That is what makes us compassionate humans. It is also what gives us the ability, as Grandma would say, to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time.
Mic drop on that. I have 1 minute for everybody else because we're going to have more of this conversation in the second hour. I'm inviting you back tomorrow or the next day, Attorney Woods, to go through I want you to go through our rights.
Yes, ma'am.
Because you have to drill it into people because I don't even know what my rights are.
Yes. And in the heat of the moment, I've been stopped for a busted tail light. My face gets red. My ears get red. I want to know why I'm being stopped, but I have to bring it down.
Yeah.
Take a deep breath, just like everybody else, even knowing that I have a JD and I am an officer of the court. I have to behave in the same way that I teach others to behave. So we want to remind people those 2 basic constitutional rights. You want to say, am I free to go? If you are not free to go, then you must assume that you are being detained. And the next words out of your mouth should be, I will not talk without my lawyer. End of story. If you are detained and you are searched or asked to be searched, you will firmly assert your right to say, I do not consent to any searches. That may or may not stop them, but that ensures that we are able to advocate for you in a court of law in a way that we may not if you were not able to assert your rights as firmly, knowing those 2 key phrases and those 2 constitutional rights.
And you can be reached at the West Side Justice.
We are at the
Center.
westsidejusticecenter.org, as well as at 773-940-2213, or you can drop by California and Harrison any day of the week and see us. That's westsidejustice.org, 773-940-2213, and we're at the corner of California and Harrison on Chicago's West Side.
All right. And I literally have a minute for each of you because we're going to continue this conversation, but I have people waiting in the next link for the next hour. But I'm going to reach it back out to you a little bit later, Attorney Woods, because ICE is here. They are here. And we need, and if you're pulled over at any time, you need to know how to behave. And I think, that's the thing, because that's what gets us, that can get us taken out. Attorney Sanat, how can we get in touch with you? And what do you want to leave us with as your final thought?
I want to say thank you so much for having me back. It's been great to be here, but I do want the people to continue to educate themselves on the history of Africans throughout our globe, especially in South America, and how Toussaint Louverture, I believe Reverend Wilson brought it up, how he went into other countries and helped them fight and gave them arms in order to fight for their freedoms as well. So, and of course, in Savannah, Georgia, how Haitians came and helped win the American independence. So when people are thinking about, well, how can I really help? Well, help first get yourself some footing into the impact that you had as a Black person, not necessarily just in America, but around the world. What is that impact, and how can I help others achieve some of the success and dreams that they have? And if you want to reach out and support, like Tanya said, there are so many Black organizations that don't get enough financial support. If you want to support Rainbow Push, you want to support the West Side Justice Center, you want to support places like the Haitian American Lawyers Association of Illinois, you've got to reach out and you've got to donate to us. Stop asking us for free legal services and not giving us an opportunity to support the lawyers that need to support their families, that need to support their homes and all the rest of their lives. So please come out there and support us. And you can reach us at HALAIL.org. Or you can feel free to send us an email at holla.illinois@gmail.com. So please support us, donate.
Reverend Dr. Jeanette Wilson, the last minute belongs to you. And I do mean 60 seconds.
I thank you for the dialogue. I thank your guests for all of the heat that you have brought us. We love the dialogue, and Santita knows I don't mind debating. One of the things I can say to you is push is there for you. We keep pushing for you each and every day. We are now trying to train people and organize people so that we can resist what's coming. What has been is going to be, what's coming is going to be worse than what we've already endured. And so we've got to be prepared for that. You got to know your rights, and you have to practice nonviolent direct action. Nonviolent direct action. I know you might not really understand what that means. We're going to teach that every Saturday at Push. We have Reverend James Bevel's daughter, Sherry Bevel. Dr. Sherry Bevel will be one of the instructors. We want you to be empowered and engaged. Don't try to fight alone. As she said, they've got 80 organizations. We have numbers of organizations and faith leaders that will join with you in demonstrating a resistance movement. We have to resist what is coming. And the only way to do that is to do it nonviolently, because they will have more weapons than you have, but they don't have more faith and strength or fortitude if you know how to do nonviolence. Come to Push, 930 East 50th Street. And you can just do 773 Freedom. 773 Freedom. That's all you got to do, and you can call us. We are here every Saturday. We are there trying to inform you, giving you an analysis of what's happening. And we're there every day to take your calls. And we have food. We got food. Come to Push.
That's right. Come to Push. And look, you cannot ride to freedom in Pharaoh's chariot. You got to find freedom yourself, everybody. So get on over to Push. Help Push as Push seeks to help you. Let's get into this conversation. 773 Freedom, 10 a.m. on Saturday morning at 50th and Drexel. Get on over there, everybody. I love you. We're going to continue this conversation with another panel, because I think we need to really begin to talk this through. And the more we talk about it, I think the better off we're going to be when we really, really, really understand the dimensions of this struggle. It's a global struggle. It's a local struggle. What's local is global. What's global is local.
It's a money struggle.
Everybody. That's right. And you know what? And if you don't have money, give your time. Just get in there, because it's your neighbor. What do they say? The depression, the recession is when your neighbor loses a job. The depression is when you lose a job. And trust me, The depression is here.
Yep.
Mhm.
Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show on the other side on AM 950 radio. The Santita Jackson Show, back in just a minute.